Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to save the player's position to a text file so that you may load that position later. This video is intended to be just a super simple way to write information to a text file that you can load later. There are more advanced ways to do this by encrypting the data to ensure that no players can alter states of your games, but this will just be a small tutorial. Alright, I have reset the saving and loading so that if we go ahead and try it out, you'll see that loading does nothing. If I save somewhere else and try and load that position, it also does nothing. So now we're starting from step one. Now the first thing we want to do is create a save system that can save our player's position. So to do that, I'm going to go into the scripts folder that I've created, and I'm going to right click, go to create and C# script, and I will name this save system. Then I will go to our canvas button and I will drag our script onto the save button object, and I will double click it to open it in Visual Studio. I will move it to this screen so we can all see it. First thing we are going to do is get rid of these first two using statements and add using system.io. You can also get rid of these two start and update functions, and I will add a private string file path. I'm just going to set that equal to dot and /. Then I will add a second private string and I will call it POS file name for position file name. And I will set that equal to POS tracker.text. And now I will add a public save function, and I will add a private save position function. And in my save function, I will just call save position. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so if you want to build on this and add more things that you want to save, then you can just add another function call here to this public save function. But yeah, it just really depends on what you need for your game. So the first thing I'll want to do in my save position function is create a transform called player and find the player object. So I'm going to do GameObject.find GameObject with tag. Just call that player, and I'll want their transform. Next thing I'll want is I will add a debug.log that says saved position 2, and it'll just be file path plus our position file name. That way we just have a little indication of where our file was saved and if the save function was called. And since I only want to save one position at a time, I'm going to do file.delete path.combine file path, position file name. And that'll just get the path of the file, and if it exists, then it'll delete it. And now we will actually just write the position of the player to the text file to be loaded later. So that will be using stream writer output file equals new stream writer, and we can just copy this path here as the path and the file that we'll want. And then I will set the value true. So in this using statement, all we want to do is say output file right line player dot position, and I will save our script. And this should be all we really need to save our player position. So I will minimize this and go back to Unity. And of course, we will have to set up our save button. So I'll add on click event here. I'll drag our save system script there and choose a function from save system. Let's choose our public save. So now I will run our game. I'll go into our console and click save. We'll see that the position was saved to this location, and the // is just a relative path. So where it actually was saved, I bring up my file explorer. You'll see in your project, since you're running it from here, it's just gonna, this is its root, it's just gonna save it right here. And if I open this up in Notepad, you'll see that the position is saved right here as a vector3. We'll go ahead and close that. Now the next step is being able to load that position. So we'll go back to the scripts folder, right click, create new C# script, call it load system. And I will go ahead and drag the load system script onto our load button and double click it to open it in Visual Studio. I'll go ahead and drag it over so we can all see it. And it'll look pretty similar to the save script that we made. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of these first two using statements, and I'll add using system.io. And the first things I'll add are basically the same first two variables from our save system script. We'll just paste those in, save a little bit of time. And if you were being really smart, you would just have a separate class that would hold these strings instead of having them called twice, instanced differently between scripts. But for just this small tutorial, I'm just not going to bother. And the next thing I'll do is add a public load function and a private load position function. And in load, I'll call load position. And this is the same case here where if you wanted to load more than one thing, you could just add it to this public load function. But all right, so the first thing we'll want to do when we try to load the position is we want to check if the file exists. So we'll do if file does not exist, and we can do path.combine file path position file. And I will add a debug.log saying position tracker file not found. Then we'll just return if that file doesn't exist. And then we'll want to get the player transform again. So I will just go ahead and copy that from our save script. And then we'll go ahead and start another using statement here with stream reader this time. And we'll say the stream reader is going to be called input file, and we'll set it equal to a new stream reader with the same path here. And I'll just add true. All right, now while I'm reading the input file, I'll want to have a string for the line, and I'll set that equal to input file.readLine. And then I'm going to start a while loop while string is empty or null for the line, and we're going to put the exclamation point in front of it. So while the string is not empty or null, we'll keep doing this loop. And then in the while loop, to make sure we don't get caught up in an infinite loop, we'll want to do line equals input file dot read line. And then before that, we'll want to set our player position equal to the position saved in the file. So to do that, I will have to create a way to get a vector3 out of a string. So I'll add a private function that returns a vector3 called string to vector3. And I will call the string line as an input to the function. And I will declare a new vector3 called vector3. And I'll just set it equal to a new vector3 here. And at the end, I'll want to return that vector3. And up here where we're getting our position, I'll go ahead and call the function string to vector3. I'll say line. And then I will want to declare a string x, a string y, and a string z. And for x, I am going to use some substring calls to be able to get the x position out of the total line containing the vector3. So I will do line.substring. I'll start it at position 1 to avoid the beginning parenthesis. And then I want line.index of first comma. And I don't want to include the comma, so I'll do a -1 here. This should give us x position as a string. And for y, I will do sort of the same thing and do line.substring. I'll do x.length plus 3. And this is going to be where our substring starts in this line. So it's taking the length of x, which would be the position float, and adding 3 for the starting parenthesis, the comma, and the space. And how long I want the substring to be will be line.substring x.length plus 3 index of, and we'll do the next comma. And just to clean up the string a little bit, I'm going to do y equals y.trim for single quote space, and y equals y.trim for single quote comma. And this just trims off any extra spaces or commas at the beginning or end of the string, I believe. Then for z, I'm going to do, again, a line.substring x.length plus y.length plus 5 as an offset for the other characters like commas and spaces that we don't need in the string. Then we'll do comma line.substring x.length plus y.length plus 5 index of, and it'll just be the ending parenthesis like so. And then I will want to clean up the z string as well. So I'll do z.trim single quotes space z equals z.trim single quotes comma. And then I need to set these x, y, and z strings to be the x, y, and z vector values for vector3. So I'll do vector3 dot x equals float dot parse x, and we'll do it for the rest of them as well. So vector3 dot y is float dot parse y, same thing with z, and we return this vector3, which should just give us the player position that we saved. So if I go ahead and save our load system file and return to Unity, then I will set our load button to our load function like we did before with our save button. And now we should be able to save and load our player position. One important note is to make sure that your player does have the player tag assigned, otherwise the scripts won't be able to find the player. So if I go ahead and click play, it'll behave just like it did at the beginning of the video, where we can go wherever we want, like behind this tree, hit save. If I go ahead and walk somewhere else, we can hit load and it'll go right back to that saved position. You can even save it in another place and go ahead and click load and it'll load back in that position. If I stop playing and I rerun the game without making any changes, I can go ahead and click load and it'll go back to that last saved position. So I hope you found this video helpful. There are other ways of doing this, of course, but I figured this would be the easiest way to start out with to get the understanding of how these systems can work. If you like this video, leave a like down below and leave a comment for what you would like to see me do next. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.